Joining me now is the House Majority Leader, Republican Kevin McCarthy of California. Leader McCarthy, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Let me start with the issue involving the President and Robert Mueller. Does it concern you that the President actually ordered his firing?
Look, the President and his staff is fully cooperative. That's where they're moving forward, and I think we'll just continue this investigation and see where it goes.
Do you have confidence in Bob Mueller?
Yes.
100%.
I have confidence in Mueller. I have questions about others within the FBI and the DOJ, especially what's come out in these texts, especially what it's been based upon. And I think it's the responsibility of, we have an Intel committee, it's their duty and responsibility for oversight. And that's what's moving forward, and that has raised a great deal amount of questions.
Is there a red line the President could cross with you in his treatment of Bob Mueller?
Look, the President and his team have fully cooperated. So you're making hypotheticals. Right now, they're
not a hypothetical. We have reports that he ordered it to do it, and Don McGahn threatened to quit if asked to carry out the order.
This is a place that I have not been a part of. I have not heard that. The only thing I've seen is cooperation going forward, and I think that's where they intend to end up.
Would you be open if there is a bill that protects, there's a couple of bills in the Senate. One would be having a 3-judge panel review a decision if the President did fire Mueller to see if it was done on fair grounds. Would you be open if that bill is attached to the budget bill? Would you support that? Would you let that go through versus...
Look, I think we should focus on the budget because military needs their funding. Why are we playing other games with something else? Let's take the issue that's right before us. He's cooperating right now.
Would you support legislation to protect Mueller?
I don't think there's a need for legislation right now to protect Mueller. So we're raising an issue that's not. At the same time, we've got an issue about funding for the military.
Right.
Chuck, remember this. 1 week ago when you were sitting here, government was shut down. Democrats believed government should be shut down, trying to hold it hostage, the Children's Health Insurance Program and others. I think what's responsible for us to do is do the job that's before us. If there's an issue that arises, we'll take it up at that time. But right now there is not an issue, so why create one when there isn't a place for it?
Do you believe there's some sort of deep state that's out to get the President?
You know, I never believed that. And I have people who have been U.S. attorneys and others. But it is a real question when somebody who works at high end of the DOJ, wife is hired just to do research when it comes to fusion, when somebody at the FBI, looking at the text, talking to a person they're having an affair, putting their politics before, but it's not just somebody in the FBI, it's somebody that was responsible in looking at the investigation when it came to Hillary Clinton. It's somebody that was in this investigation that was with Mueller, and he didn't find it. It was the independent investigator that found it. And then when they had these questions about it, when you look at these entire texts, and then why they were all lost right after the election, I think that gives anybody doubt. And I go to people who have dealt with this time and again, and now they have serious doubt.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask it just in the reverse.
Sure.
If this were a Democrat that was being investigated, why do I have a feeling you'd be sitting here saying, boy, they seem to be so concerned about the investigators. It's almost that they're afraid of the facts that are being found, because the disputes over this seem to be about the fact finders, not the facts. It's sort of like you don't like where the facts are going, so let's question. It's basically Johnny Cochran's O.J. Simpson defense.
No, I think it's complete opposite. You had never heard me prior to this have any problems with an investigation. You just asked me the question if I say Mueller, yes. What happens is the facts that came forward that an individual with the DOJ, his wife was hired by Fusion only to work on the Russian portion. Lo and behold, that came forward.
So you believe this is a giant, you're painting a conspiracy. You think that is the most plausible?
No, I'm not painting any conspiracy.
Do you want people to draw conclusions that way? It does feel that way.
I have given you no conclusion except the facts that are out there. As I said prior, I had no problems. But when these facts arise, remember, we're separate entities here, and you have an ability and a responsibility for oversight. And I think the public has the right to know. Why was somebody that was in the middle of the investigation in this one conveying in their own text concerned about the election, concerned about what happened after the election, and that high up? I think that is a problem. We should at least look at it.
Right, and there is an investigation. It's called the Inspector General. Why is that not enough for you right now? Let the Inspector General do their job at DOJ. It seems as if you guys want to supersede that investigation.
We weren't the one that started this. You have different investigations going on, and they all have their own part of going forward. We are separate but co-equal. We have a responsibility for oversight of DOJ and others. I don't care who was president this time, but I want my government to be fair and open, and what I'm seeing raises questions, so you should look into the questions, and it's just driven by facts. Let the facts take them where they may, and that's the responsibility we have.
This memo that now the president apparently wants released, which he has the power to do on his own. He can declassify anything he wants. Do you want the president to declassify this memo that was written by Republican staff on the House Intelligence Committee?
Look, they have been doing their investigation. They found something out. I've gone down. I've read it. The committee voted. This is the process. They voted to allow members to read it. They have the ability to vote to move it forward, just like being, and then it would go to the executive branch.
Why are they afraid to send this to the Justice Department for review?
Well, aren't we separate but co-equal? Don't we have a view? Don't we have the responsibility for oversight? And the Justice Department will be able to see it, because you have the executive branch and you have the legislative branch. And as the legislative branch looks at it, it will send it to the executive branch beforehand. They have the approval whether to declassify and put it forward. So they will have the opportunity if the committee.
You want the president to declassify this memo?
Having read this memo, I think it would be appropriate that the public has full view of it.
And you don't believe this is somehow the president tampering with the investigation? How does this not look like that if he does?
Because it has nothing to do with the president right now. It is the committee doing their work, who have found something, voted as a committee of the whole. And remember why the Intel Committee was created, based upon what was happening in the executive branch, the CIA and FBI and others. So they have oversight of it. They made a vote for the public, or for the members of Congress to look at it. Now they can vote to send it to the executive branch, and they could have say of whether to release it.
Why don't you want Senator Burr to look at it? He's chairman of the Senate Intel Committee. Why not?
Well, the Intel Committee and the Senate is doing their investigation, and we're doing ours.
He has to see it, and he has to see it first.
Well,
why not?
Well, that's a question for Devin Nunes, the chair.
All right, I got to ask you on immigration here. Is the idea of wall for pathway to citizenship for Dreamers as basically a one-for-one, is that off the table now? That idea off the table, that deal can't be struck anymore?
Well, that deal was never on the table, because when we had the meeting where we had bicameral senators, members of Congress, you had the media there for an hour. We all agreed, every single person in that room, that we'd focus on 4 items. We'd focus on DACA. We'd focus on border security, we'd focus on reunification of the family, and we'd focus on merit. And those are the 4 issues we've talked about. The president just put out a compromise. It really goes to show.
By the way, do you view that as an opening bid, a start of negotiations by the White House?
I view that as an opportunity to really show who's willing to solve this problem.
That's up for negotiation in your mind still.
Well, that is talking what the president just put out there. I think it's a sign that shows he's serious about solving this problem.
Could that bill, if you brought it on, pass the House just with Republican votes, the president's plan?
Well, I think whatever we do is not going to pass with one party or the other. And the responsibility, if you want to solve this and not be at this in another 5 or 10 years, you want to do it correctly. And I think that bill has a lot of merit to solving the problem.
And finally, do you think this has to be done before March, or do you think you have till the summer now to deal with the DACA situation?
Well, you got the courts going forward. You have the opportunity. I'd like to get it done as soon as possible.
Do you don't think, is there urgency to do it before March, or do you think this can slide?
I think there's urgency to get this done. Unfortunately, the government down by Schumer. They thought they wanted to take it hostage. That stopped the meetings that we were having in my office every day on a bicameral, bipartisan basis, and we're making great progress. So let's just get back to the table and solve it. But think for one moment. You're asking what the president has done? The president is one that has shown leadership in this. He's pushed himself. And remember, to solve this problem, we're going to have compromise. No one's going to get 100% of what they want. But this solves the problem long term. And the president went there, and Schumer is now trying to back away.
All right. Leader McCarthy, I'm going to have to leave it there. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.